Hello and welcome to another edition of the Father and Son Pastime Podcast. I'm Patrick.
I'm Kevin.
It's a lot of P's right there, right? But that's my dad. So we are continuing our series of the all-time teams for each MLB franchise. We've done the Orioles, we've done the Nats, and now we're doing the Chicago Cubs. My dad right here is from Chicago. He's a lifelong Cubs fan, so I'm sure his knowledge and depth, he didn't have to research any of this stuff. I'm sure he's going off with people that he was able to see in person and grew up idolizing. So it'll be really great to get his opinion. I'll probably just do a lot of nodding and agreeing, and maybe throw in a fact every now and then. We shall see. But we also do just all positions, best starter, best reliever, best closer, best manager. A lot of options with these Cubs, and then just best logo. And we Cub requirements. They have to be Cub for at least 3 years, 3 years of service time. And that applies to managers, pitchers, players, the like. And we're only looking at the Chicago Cubs. That is 1903 to now. In my own research about this, it has nothing to do with the player. Before the Chicago Cubs were the Chicago Cubs, they were the... There's a few options, but right before they were the Cubs.
When they played at Wegmans Park?
1901, 1902. They were called the Chicago Orphans.
I didn't know that.
Which has got to be the worst name for anything.
Okay.
The Chicago Orphans. I don't know. I'm sure there's historical context there, but awful.
I think that comes from the site that they put the first park on. What used to be an orphanage.
Worse, actually.
Yeah, I know that. But I think that's what it was, and it was on the west side of Chicago. And it was called Wegmans Park.
What happened to that orphanage?
I don't know. Ask Babe Ruth. But the...
he was still young when 1901 happened.
He was. But anyway, I think that's where that came from.
Yeah, well, anyways, terrible, the worst name of any professional sports team ever, Chicago Orphans. But let's talk about the Cubs. We're usually ping pong. This time I'm just going to let him throw out the first option for every single position, and I'll just kind of agree or disagree here, maybe, again, add in a fact or two.
Okay.
So, Dad, best Cubs catcher ever?
Gabby Hartnett, and my dad's favorite player. And the Jody was the distant second, Jody Davis, but they didn't have a great deal of great catchers over the years. So, but Gabby was an all-star for many of those years, 40s and the 50s, and was, I think, still in the top 30 Cubs of all time and everything else. But Gabby was by far had the most all-star games and everything else.
Hall of Fame catcher. Yeah. First base. This may be the only one we actually might disagree on.
Ernie Banks, baby.
As a first baseman.
Yes.
Not as a second baseman. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I got a...
Or as a shortstop. I'm sorry. Ernie as a shortstop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It could have gone either way with that. And I think if you did games played, it was almost split.
Who do you have for short? We're jumping ahead here because I'm just so curious.
Javier.
Really? You're giving it to a current player,
Yes,
Baez.
I am.
All right. Okay. Wow.
He's going to be a star.
No, I agree with that. So we're going with Ernie as a first baseman.
Correct.
Okay.
Number 14, Mr. Cub.
Yeah, Ernie's on the list regardless of where you're putting him.
Yeah.
But okay, Ernie is a first baseman.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else to say about Mr. Cub? Or
I tell you, there were some really good first basemen along the way. Rizzo's up there. Joe Pepitone was in the mix. But there were some really good first basemen that played for the Cubs. But I think if you ask most Cub fans, they probably put Ernie at first base.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have Ernie at shortstop, so do not think I'm dissing Ernie at all. But I have Mark Grace as the best overall Cubs first baseman. Yeah. On my list of Cub position players, he's the only non-Hall of Famer. 4-time Gold Glover, great average, and he was never really injured. He had 10 consecutive All-Stars, so I just really like the...
unsung hero, overshadowed by Sosa during that era.
Yeah, but they were always a 3-4 combo. I believe, right? Yeah, that was pretty much always the lineup.
Yeah. Grace was the doubles guy. Sosa was the home runs.
League leader in doubles a few years. Yeah. So I have Grace second. I'm assuming we'll probably have the same person here.
Yeah, for second base?
Yeah.
Rhino.
Yeah.
Ryne Sandberg. Yeah.
Weirdest way to spell Ryan ever, by the way. R-Y-N-E. But
yeah. But a lot of
great
kids
player.
A lot of kids has been spelled like that since.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, just one of those guys started out a third baseman, by the way. And the guy shifted over to second base. And then Jim Fry, who passed away this week, taught him to be a pull hitter. Mm-hmm. And the rest is history.
Yeah. I was looking at my notes wrong, by the way. Mark Grace did not have 10 consecutive All-Stars. Ryne Sandberg did as a Cub. I don't know how many Mark did. Shortstop, so I had Ernie, you had Javier. Would you like to talk more about Baez at all?
I just think that he's just a phenomenal athlete. You know, he started as a catcher in Puerto Rico.
That makes sense. Because he was catching somebody the other day I was seeing
Correct.
on Sports
And
Center or something.
then all of a sudden they said, hey, this kid has got some mobility. And talking about hitting for power, hitting for average, stolen bases. And I think he might have the most electric arm in the National League. When he's in short left field on a ground ball, his arm is, like Jeter. So
It's impressive.
yeah, and he's 26, 27.
Yeah, he's still got 10 plus great years
Yeah.
left.
So anyway, as I looked down the list and all that stuff, he jumped out.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
Sean
high
Dustin
praise. Sean Dustin, yeah.
is another one that I really love. Sean, he always hustled, but was second in my opinion. But Sean would have been an easy choice.
Okay. Third,
Ron Santo.
I have Ryne Sandberg
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
He did end the career with the White Sox, though. That was his only little last year.
Yeah, unfortunately, they disbanded all the old Cubs. Gosh, it got to the early 70s, and the Cubs are pretty bad. Because after they didn't make it in 69, and they went to 72, Leo DeRocher, left as manager. New people came into the Cubs, and they, as they say in today's baseball, they tanked, and they got rid of everybody that was any good during that time, and, went for an easy payroll. So you could sit in bleachers back then for a couple bucks and see a really bad team.
Up until like 5 years ago, 6 years ago, that was still kind of the truth.
And that's where the bleacher bums came into fruition. It was cheap seats. They were just begging people to come and watch the games, and they could care less what was going on the field. They were just drinking and have a good time.
Yeah.
But it's unemployed people that are actually filling the stands.
All right. Let's go in the outfield. Let's go left first.
Billy Williams.
I have Billy as well.
Yeah.
Anything you want to say about Billy?
Sweet swinging Billy Williams. One of the main three that's still alive.
Yeah, Billy's still alive.
Yeah, so I mean he's still ambassador to the game and everything else, but just great, number 3 hitter. So when Williams, Banks, Santo, or Williams, Santo, Banks, depending on the manager during that time, and it's probably the best middle 3 in the lineup. They didn't have a whole lot above them and below them that carried out, but their best years were 69 to 72, and then they disbanded everybody. But they had some glory years, late 60s, early 70s.
Yeah, no title though. Sorry,
No.
I had to throw the joke in there.
The
best joke you could always do with Cubs fans prior to obviously them winning it a few years ago. You could say, "What's the best thing about dating a Cubs fan? They never expect a ring." But you can't use that joke anymore. Use it with Seattle fans though.
Well, there's the other joke was the Cubs should be moved to Manila and be called the Folders.
Mine's better. Just sound out in the comments below who had a better joke. Center field. I don't know my choice, but I just did some research because nothing popped out at me. So I went with an old timer.
Hack Wilson.
Hack Wilson's.
Yeah. Was a great Cub. I think one year had 156 RBIs.
That's a lot.
During, when the ball wasn't juiced and everything, and was just, a stocky man that hit the ball hard. And then he still, no one's beat his RBI ever from that era. So 156 is still the record.
Hall of Famer too.
Correct.
Right field probably has 2 options, depending how you look at it. Probably either Dawson or Sosa. I wonder if we land on the same.
Dawson.
I picked Dawson too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just the...
no steroids.
Correct.
Yeah.
And I think he defensively was a better right fielder.
Yeah.
Had a gun. God, he had a gun. And really liked playing in Chicago. He had bad knees playing in Montreal on that crummy cement they call AstroTurf. And he went to a team that had natural grass and came to the GM of the Cubs, 87, and said, Phil, put the amount on the check and I'll play for that. And he was $500,000 he played for. And he was worth a lot more than that. But yeah, great story. He's the one who played for the Cubs so bad. Yeah. He said, fill in the check and I'll play for it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Good for him. I grew some respect for Andre.
Yeah.
Not my generation. Sammy was more my generation. Just to defend Sammy, I don't think every year he was with a Cub he was on steroids, but definitely in those late 90s years.
He was.
Yeah.
When he went from 165 to 225?
Yeah. I don't think every year, though. And he did have some power. Like, he had some, 30s, 36 home runs a year that I think were natural, but I think, again, put on the weight, put on the size.
Yeah.
Barry Bonds' shoe size grew like a 9 to a 13. I think he's all in
hat
that.
size.
Yeah, hat size grew. But, yeah, so I'm not saying every single year Sammy's is tainted, but I'm glad he's actually not in the Hall of Fame.
When you go from 30 to 60, something's going on.
Yeah. Pitching, I have all Hall of Famers as a starter, reliever, or setup man. and closer as well. Who are you putting, though, as your starter?
Fergie Jenkins.
I figured you would go with Fergie. It's not the Hall of Famer I chose, though, so go ahead.
You know what? It's longevity.
Yeah.
He was with some really bad teams and still won 20 games. He was in the 60s, 66 on. Came from Philadelphia, by the way, in a trade. And he was like 20-6. Him and Bob Gibson were the pitchers in the National League during that era.
And I think Bob's just always going to be better than Fergie.
Correct.
They're both Hall of Famers.
Right. Both big men, by the way.
Yeah, well, Bob was more intimidating.
Yes, he wanted to fight.
He did. He did. I'm sorry, yeah.
Fergie was, okay, I really don't want to.
Fergie weighed less, too.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
But I think just for longevity, consistency, Fergie's my choice.
Yeah, I went with Greg Maddux.
Good
Again,
choice.
more my generation. I know you're going to argue that, he was more of a Brave. I get that. But he did multiple years as a Cub, both before the Braves and after the Braves. He did a little, bookending there. I don't know, and I think we'll talk about this. I had another idea for us to do like an all-time team, like our best team ever. But I think I would put Greg Maddux on the mound for my all-time team. He could just paint the corners like no other pitcher could. It wasn't speed. Greg Maddux, a majority of pitchers today can outthrow him in terms of speed. People in AAA can probably outthrow Greg Maddux. But in terms of consistency, staying healthy, just being a rock star on the mound, I mean, he was intimidating. He threw 90 miles an hour, but he struck out people.
On a good day.
Yeah, like he just was super. He was just a great star.
He perfected the backdoor slider.
Yeah.
Because what he did was he
pitchers
threw
moved.
it 2 to 3 inches on the outside part of the plate and then moved it to the corner.
Yeah.
And he always had great catchers to frame the pitcher. And then the umpire started giving to him. And then he started working a little bit more outside.
Talent. It's just talent.
Yeah,
so.
and he's one of the ones that was a true pitcher rather than thrower.
Yeah.
So, great example of great pitching.
Yeah, and he was an 18-time Gold Glover, which in terms of for pitching, I've never heard of.
Yeah, great athlete.
Yeah.
Great athlete.
Yeah. Could defend off the mound.
Correct.
Yeah, could hit a little bit too because he played his entire career in the Nationals.
He invented chopping the ball down and then outrunning it to first base.
Yeah, yeah.
So he
I do remember
actually
that.
do the Baltimore chop and then get the ball up in the air, sprint down to first base, and beat it. And
he's not hitting. He's not getting a Silver Slugger award,
Yeah, but a total kind of athlete he was.
Yeah, he got on base.
Correct.
There you go. Billy Beane would be proud.
Yeah.
So I think you're probably going to have two options here for reliever and closer. Probably going to have Sutter or Smith, depending on how you put that. What do you have?
I got Bruce Sutter as a closer. Lee Smith was a great closer back in the day, and all along the way there's other ones like Lindy McDaniel back in the 60s and everybody else, but I'll go Smith as setup, Sutter as closer.
I figured you'd do that. I'm switching it just because Smith had more saves. Sutter actually ended up with exactly 300, so that 300 saves club. I mean, it's kind of funny that you end up with exactly 300.
Yeah.
But Lee Smith is the third all-time saves leader. Both of them are in the Hall of Fame. I'm fine with any way you want to go, but I think Smith obviously has more innings and more experience as the ninth inning guy than Sutter does.
Two easy stories. Lee Smith was not the most greatest trained athlete in the world. He used to show up about seventh inning in Wrigley Field. So he would come into the clubhouse by the seventh inning, walk out to the bullpen, get warmed up and all that stuff. But Jim Fry, at the manager, hated that he came in the seventh inning.
I would too.
So he traded him. He traded him to Boston,
Mm-hmm.
and for a couple of really bad pitchers. And that was his exit out of Chicago. Bruce Sutter in the offseason was a carpenter. And he said that his longevity was he always kept his arm in shape, being a carpenter and pounding nails in the offseason. So,
well, there you go. One is clearly a better athlete than the other. I'll give you
correct,
that.
yes.
So manager and then favorite logo. We always print out the logo so we can kind of share those with you. Manager, you go first.
Joe Maddon.
I chose Joe too.
Yeah.
Again, you don't end a curse without being the best manager ever.
Correct. And I think he did a great job in Chicago. I think at the end he got a little, too many knocks against him for being laid back and all that stuff. But it worked for many years. But, in Chicago, you got to win. And unfortunately, the front office wanted to be in the playoffs every year. And I think that was led to his demise was they didn't make the playoffs that last year.
Mm-hmm. So the Cubs have been a team for 117 years now. They've had really 16 major logos throughout that time. Some definitely better than others, as we're going to see. Before I turn it over to you all, Dad, what was your
I'm
pick
going
here?
with the 1957 logo because
This guy.
yeah, that was my childhood.
Okay.
And during that time, they had the bear as the other logo on the other
Alternate
sleeve
logo, yeah.
that was kind of bluish
Yeah.
and all that. But yeah, I really like that. That reminds me of my childhood, and that's the reason why I chose that.
Nice. I'm going to choose a 1911 design, and here's those options. The 1911 design right here.
Yeah,
It's
classic.
it's a classic. I think
Yeah.
you have a hat like
I
that,
do.
and his choice was down here. But let's talk about this one right now, the 1918. What is going on? It's just this long C that's not red. It's like yellow.
You would never see that as a C.
And then UBS, yeah, it just looks like UBS, like it's a, I don't know, like a shipping company. I don't know. And then just some weird design changes in the 40s. They're like, it's a little too thick of a C. We're going to lose some weight. You know, it's post-World War II. We need a ration, and we're going to do a little thinner C on this one. So I don't know. They've had a lot of changes. But
I'm not sure that looks like a Cub.
Yeah, this is also, I don't, what's happening in 1941. I think everybody just went with
more
like
of a Wolverine.
It's like a cart. It does look like a Wolverine. It's like a Michigan Wolverine, honestly. So they've had better ones. So but that's our choices for that. So again, thank you for watching. Please like this video, subscribe to our channel. More are coming. Again, give us a comment if what you think is, if we messed up on something. If you would like to say that no, I think it should be this player, this pitcher. Sound off in the comments below.
Have a great day.
Thank y'all.